day. I'm with Randy Durband, CEO of the Global Sustainable Tourism Council. Pleasure to have you with us today.
Nice to be here.
There's so much going on about the sustainable tourism, especially in Karnataka. Why have you chosen Karnataka to be the first state to look at promoting such practices?
Well, I think Karnataka chose us. We make ourselves available throughout the world to provide support and resources on making destinations and regions more sustainable, and it's their interest in doing so that brought me here.
Wonderful. And talking about sustainable tourism, who do you feel are the main collaborators and stakeholders who should ideally be part of this initiative in taking it forward?
Well, it starts with trade associations and industry and government, and it's hard to separate who's more important as industry or government because they both play such an important role to play, and they need to work together. The travelers are part of it. We need to make travelers more aware and more sensitized to issues that require responsible behavior and so forth, and selection of travel product and travel providers that are more sustainable. But yeah, it really starts with industry leaders and government to get things moving.
Wonderful. And in order to take this forward, I think we need to have happy people and communities around. How do you feel we can really create a win-win situation which is also sustaining and which has a positive impact moving forward?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that the residents of a community are important to consider. Is traveling a right or a privilege? Do we have a right to go anywhere in the world and act the way we want? No, I think we have an obligation as travelers and travel providers to consider the needs of the residents. And government has an obligation to protect its citizens. And what we're finding over time is that truly sustainable destination management really takes into consideration both the needs of the visitors and the residents. And if those are done in harmony and managed harmoniously, then everybody succeeds. Tourism is a service business. It's all about customer satisfaction and customer service. So no visitor likes to go to a place and they don't feel like they're appreciated or wanted in the place. So the residents play an important role in that as well. When residents of a community understand the value of tourism to its economic livelihood, then they'll tolerate any inconveniences and annoyances associated with it.
True.
And
Yes.
and again, that's where industry leaders, trade associations, and government play a part to make sure that there is public participation, opportunity to have a voice in tourism development. So that harmonious whole is created by having some mechanisms for inclusive planning.
Great. And when we talk about value creation and value addition, what comes to my mind is the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN. And how do we see the Global Sustainable Tourism Council aligned towards that?
Well, the Sustainable Development Goals, we call them the SDGs, have three of the goals specifically mention tourism, but the UN system has formally stated that tourism is cross-cutting, travel and tourism is cross-cutting through all of the SDGs. And it just makes sense when you think for a moment. Travel and tourism account for 10% of global economy and global jobs. And just think about the complexity of the travel and tourism experience. There's so many different kinds of components and players. So when we look at sustainable consumption and production generally across all sectors, travel and tourism really does touch upon a lot of elements. So our GSTC criteria, which are the global baseline standards for sustainability in travel and tourism, really speak to the SDGs. And the detail is in the criteria. And that matches very well where tourism certainly where tourism is specifically mentioned in the SDGs, but in the general spirit of travel and tourism contribution to supporting the SDGs are very much in our criteria.
I read an article recently on a travel report which talks about 1 out of 10 jobs go into the tourism industry. And now with sustainable tourism practices moving forward, do you see that number growing in the near future?
I don't know if the ratio will grow. I would hope it would. I think that tourism has a very important role to play in job growth. Many sectors worship at the altar of productivity and job loss to try to replace people with machines and technology. And that certainly has a place, in many parts of the economy. But I think that in travel and tourism, which is intensely personal, socially and personally based, that I think it's wise for travel and tourism to not try to push humans out of jobs, that the traveler wants a human experience, and so we want as many human service providers as possible.
True.
And not replaced by technology and so forth. And I think tourism would be wise to look at that strategically, to say, yeah, we're a people-to-people business, let's keep the people in place. Okay, some automated ticket machines are appropriate, but in general, there's huge opportunity for continued job growth in travel and tourism.
And a final question to you. As you're aware, the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce is, very enthusiastically involved in promoting sustainable tourism. Do you have a message for the business community? How can they get on board and, join this journey?
Yeah, it's very exciting to see the chamber show this interest and enthusiasm. The community in general can get on board by participating in some of the plans we're talking about today in terms of awareness raising, because that's the first step. We see it everywhere we go in the world, that when tourism players start learning the breadth of sustainable tourism concepts, which has elements that are that it's not just about sort of avoiding bad things, of bad behaviors we should avoid. There's many elements that are very positive and uplifting.
True.
And they're motivating.
Yes.
And so we see that when people become aware of all those things, they get very motivated. Studies show, for example, that businesses throughout various sectors, but certainly in hotels and tour operators in the travel and tourism business, because it is so people-oriented, employee retention is higher when there's a strong CSR activity of the business. So the employees feel better about it. But by just raising the awareness to learn what they should be doing is just the first step, and that just self-motivates people when they start seeing firsthand what should be done and what could be done. They figure out for themselves what are the next steps.
True. Randy Durband, CEO of the Global Sustainable Tourism Council, thank you for your time with us, and wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Bye.